Well, hi there, YouTube again. Well, I'm sure maybe in some of the videos you might have seen this thing kicking around. I had some other video of it originally when I was starting to build it, but a lot of that video got corrupted. So it's lost forever to the ether. But we're kind of at the point right now in the process right now, we're going to do some of the finishing stuff to it. And, you know, like how I like to do my projects, and a lot of people do, you know, I always like to build them first, kind of get them, you know, everything kind of put together the way that you want it, you know, ride it around, make sure that it's functional, then I tear it all back apart, then paint it, make it look pretty, and, you know, finish with some of the welding and stuff like that underneath that you can't get to on the frame, or, you know, some of the tighter spots. So yeah, this little guy here, I picked this thing up from a guy out in West Phoenix, and he had actually lifted it. And, you know, the body probably sat, you know, the bed was probably this tall, and it was just a little Chinese, it's, you know, it is underneath, it's just a little 110cc Chinese ATV that's underneath here. And he had built the whole framework, not that well, but built a whole framework that had lifted this thing up, and it was so crazy top heavy. I mean, they're already top heavy to begin with. If you've ever ridden, you know, one of these little things, they're not safe for us adults at any kind of high rate of speed. They have the power, they'll get you around, but they're not safe. So I had originally, I wanted it for the body. This is a little Power Wheel Chevy truck. You know, I had originally, when I saw the pictures, I thought it was one of the bigger bodies, bigger, you know, go-kart bodies. And I've always wanted to build a big lifted go-kart truck, and like a little mini monster truck. But when I got it, he did deliver it to me, so I didn't actually get to see it, you know, before. And since he'd made the long trip and everything, I just bought it and figured I'll do something with it, you know. And the more and more I stared at this thing, I thought to myself, you know, I always wanted to build a lowrider. So here she is. And, you know, it's kind of cool. You know, in the next, you know, coming parts of this video, we'll kind of go over, you know, some of the things that I've done to it, some of the things I'm going to do to it. And then, you know, it's just going to be fun. It's going to be kind of cool. And no real reason to build it other than just because I can and I want to. So, a couple of cool things real quick is that I did put the road tires, but they are considered supposed to be a multi-terrain tire, so off-road, on-road. It's basically got more of a car style, you know, or truck style tread on it. But as you can see, it does tuck pretty well. That was kind of my goal. When I set it up, I wanted to be able to tuck the wheels a little bit. This is in its absolute lowest position. You can't see it, but the frame of the ATV is actually sitting on the ground right now, so you can't really drive it around. I think it's in neutral and it does not move. You know, which is kind of cool. It was about the best I could do. I really wanted the body of it. I really wish these tires could tuck really far up underneath and the whole body would sit. It just wasn't feasible with the, you know, with how it's all put together. But yeah, she's pretty cool, and it's going to be a pretty fun little ride. But let me get you off the stand, and we'll take a little bit of walk around of it, and show you some of the kind of the cool parts about it. Now again, it's in its rough state, you know, so the wiring's a little crazy and hasn't been, you know, I made all the wiring myself. You know, it's a little crazy right now, but you know, I don't finish all that stuff because there's no point, because it's all going to have to come apart anyway. And then once I go put it all back together, you know, I'll clean up all the wiring, shorten everything up, put it all in its, you know, rightful place, and secure everything the way it, you know, it needs to be. But yeah, get you off the stand and show you some of the cooler parts about this thing. All right, here she is. Kind of just do a little walk around. Okay. So I guess we could start back. I made this little license plate for it. Oh, the glare's too bad. Let's see here. It actually says lay low on it. A license plate for it. I made the seat just out of some faux leather. Just kind of, you know, custom made a seat pad for it. And then, you know, some foam and that. I did make a video, and there will be some more videos on. I've got a couple other seats I've got to make, so we'll show you that some more. This was one of my favorites. That's the brake pedal right there. I've been holding on to that little foot pad for years. I found it in a hoard of parts that I bought, and I've been trying to find a place to put it, and I finally did. It's got kind of I built a dash for it. It's not finished yet, but you can kind of see it up there. I've got the stereo, I've got the light switches. There's a spot there for the electric hydraulics. You know, got some door speakers there. We'll get it apart and I'll kind of show you. I am going to make a cup, kind of finish this with some metal and put a cup holder right here. And I'll show you the you know, the frame and stuff that I built back here, because I had to kind of cut it, and you know, this is not going to stay that way. But that is 120 wall, and then there's actually some solid. It's 120 wall till about there, and then it's solid stock, 3/4 solid stock, and then a rectangle piece of steel that goes across the back. And then I did make the steering wheel. This was just out of some chain and some old sprockets and stuff. And of course we've got that's your throttle that's right there. And this will all be powder coated. You know, the body is going to be this sparkly green color. The frame is actually going to be a yellowy, iridescent kind of gold color. It does have headlights. Put some LEDs in there, which are super bright, and they were dirt cheap, but super bright. There's the battery compartment. Like I said, it's a mess. And those are the switches for the hydraulics that move it up and down. We've got our little antenna, which fits in that hole right there. It's not in there right now, but it fits in there, so that's for our radio. But yeah, that's about the gist of it so far. But all right, so this is for the rear. You can hear it. See, it's just going up. She will stop on her own. So it goes way up there. Unfortunately, the front, because of the way things are, the geometry of everything, the way I had to have it set up, the front doesn't go up as high as the back. They sent me they didn't have the right size actuator that I wanted. But that's fully lifted. So I kind of like, you know, you can level out, kind of have to play with it to level it out a little bit better. You know, not have the, actually that's the front. And then, there it goes. Level out the back a little bit. There we go. Just setting a little bit more level. And that would be more or less, honestly, would be a regular ride height, how you'd probably want to drive this thing. You know, I mean, you can drive it obviously quite a bit lower. I mean, the frame is probably, you know, 5 or 6 inches off the ground right now, but you know, so it can still cruise at a much lower, you know, ride height. It's hard to even see it, but you can see the frame down there. It's got quite a bit of distance there. But that's her. So, like I said, I'm going to bring you guys along. We're going to start tearing this thing. I got to get the body off of it, the seat and everything. I'm going to work on that cup holder. I got to work on a battery mount for it, you know, just to secure it. It's already got a base mount, but I want, you know, got to get the thing that goes over the top of it to hold it down. Other than that, I got to move the brake pedal. I got to move it physically back because with my big feet, I can't fit. It's very uncomfortable to fit because you got to kind of put your foot in front of the brake pedal up against the dash. So I want to be able to move that back about 6 inches. That I got to fit up the exhaust because right now it's just got straight exhaust on it. I've actually got a new exhaust pipe, you know, exhaust tip for it. You know, nothing special, but that I've got, it does run and runs well, but I've got a complete top end for it, new cam chain. I've got to get a new clutch for it. The people before it looked like they were doing burnouts all the time because the rear tires were just balder than bald. I mean, to the point to where the you know, the beads of the tire were actually showing. You know, so the clutch, when you get on it, the clutch takes a while for it to engage, and so I got to replace the clutch in it. So we'll do the motor work, you know, do all that kind of stuff, finish up the welding, and then we got to prep it because we're going to powder coat the frame and all the parts, and you know, and then work on prepping the body. This thing has been painted a couple of times. And you know, it used to have the decal, the Chevy decals on it. It needs some plastic work. I did that, unfortunately, when I was cutting out the spot for these headlights. But go over it, and I got to do some, you know, maybe some JB weld or some epoxy to get this back together. And then just, you know, there's some little pitting and some different things. Prep the body. You know, we're not going to go crazy, but I'd like it to look decent, you know. And you know, so there's a bunch of stuff left to do to this thing, and I'm going to kind of take you along on the journey to take it from this point to its finished product. And sorry we couldn't get you those previous videos, but there wasn't much to it. It's just a bunch of me cutting and, you know, putting the body on and off and getting that all set. There's 2 mounting points in the front, there's 2 mounting points on either side, and then 2 mounting points in the very back. You know, to hold everything on there, just kind of getting all that kind of stuff set in place, you know, starting to make the dash for it and everything. But I think it's going to be pretty fun and just a cool little toy. Oh, almost forgot. There's headlights, and I put some show lights underneath it, some green show lights. So at night, when you flip that up, it's got the, you know, the underglow lights, which is kind of cool. And well, here she is without her skins on, but just kind of wanted to bring you along before I start the teardown process, because we'll get her all torn down and you know, just finish up all the structural welding and, you know, a couple of places we couldn't get to, and grind and clean everything up, get the engine out of here so we can start building the engine. While we're doing that, and of course, you know, get this frame all stripped down and prepped so that we can put it in a powder coater. And other than that, well, I guess we'll take you around for a second here, just kind of show you some of the stuff with the actuators and things like that. Now don't judge, she's not perfect right now. I've just, like I said, everything's just kind of roughed in and tacked in. When I get the frame apart, it's much easier to flip this thing around and, you know, add little caps and covers and, you know, finish weld everything and make everything look pretty. So, yeah, let me get you out of the stand. Take a look. All right, get some of the stuff out of the way here. Oh, now I will try to leave a link down in the description. These are just an electric actuator. I mean, they're typically meant for an industrial use. These ones will push 350 pounds and pull 250 pounds. And they are strong. When I had this, I just had this upper mount without the cross piece in, and I just had it kind of tacked here and here, and I was just testing it to see if it's where I liked it. I mean, it was physically bending these out, you know. So it's definitely strong. But they, you know, they're not crazy fast. I'm, you know, obviously I wish they were like real hydraulics, but yeah, you know, got to take what you can get for the price. I think for all three of them, it was right around 150 bucks. You know, not cheap, but not crazy expensive either. Got a little, this is just my little mount for the battery box. Again, I'm just using as much scrap. You know, I'm trying to do this one as cheap as I can, you know, because I spent, you know, a lot of money on the actuators and the tires and stereo and a bunch of other stupid stuff. So I'm trying to find as much of my scrap steel and different things laying around that make this thing work. Again, this will all have to be cleaned up, you know, and finished, but I made this side this side here removable, so that way the engine can come out this way. Here's my cup holder, you know. This is actually just a 3 or 3.5 inch piece of exhaust pipe, just a coupler, and that's why I kind of like it, because it's got the little slots in that bottom there, so you know, water won't sit down in there. Kind of molded this piece in here and into that. You know, it's really nice and sturdy. I've got a plan, you know, because this is going to be powder coated. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but here is the rear actuator, and I've got to finish, once I get this thing out, finish bracing that top piece up, you know, and obviously welding all this stuff, you know, stuff like, you know, that. And this, honestly, there is another piece that goes, you know, another cross bar that is original, that is welded here, you know, and this bar here is welded. It will be welded all the way around, and we'll fill this in. You know, this is 120 wall tubing, so it's thick, and this is obviously solid stock. Back to this piece here that's holding the back. Let's see here. Got the exhaust just kind of set in there. It was really tight, because when this guy lowers down, it was getting in the way of the caliper here and the side of the tire. So I've got it just clearing right now. You know, I know that all this stuff, you know, all these welds look horrible, but just kind of got it tacked in place, so when I take this off, I'll sandblast it all and you know, finish up all the welding, make it look good. And you know, that's about it really. You know, the cup holder fits down in there, but you know, I gotta figure out something to brace this a little bit better. Maybe some gussets right here. I mean, it's pretty well welded in, you know. That's about it. You know, there's just a bunch of stuff like these brackets. There was some old tabs here, I think from the previous guy welding stuff. You know, stuff like this and this that all need to be, you know, ground off, made look good. You know, this is a kind of goober weld. I think he was using a stick welder for all this stuff. So we're gonna go through and start working on all this, and I think we're at the point where I can start tearing it apart, and we can start building this engine. I've got a complete top end for it and a bunch of internals. I got to figure out what size clutch it is. We just barely got this rear brake to fit in here. It originally was much further out this way and was kind of and further this way, so we moved it back about 4 or 5 inches and a couple inches in, so you get more room for your foot to sit out here. Probably not going to be a big deal for kids, but for somebody with size 11 feet, it's a pain in the butt to get your foot right there. So anyway, a lot of metal work and finishing and tearing apart to do, but I will bring you guys along for that process. And I have some special stuff. I think it's called all metal. Metal finishing guys use it quite a bit. The powder coating guys, it's basically what they use as filler, because it has to be able to take the temperature. You know, old body guys never used to use Bondo. They would use, you know, lead. They'd melt lead and shape panels that way and fix dents with actually using real metal. So we're going to try this stuff. I think it's going to work out really good. It's sandable. You can, you know, once it dries, you can sand it, mold it in place, and then you stick it in the oven, and it gets even harder. And it can take up to 1200 degrees or something like that. And basically, when you sand it in, you will not be able to tell the difference between this stuff and this metal. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm kind of excited to see how it works, because I got a lot of stuff between this, the street bike that I'm building, and a couple other projects. I really want to see how that stuff works. So I'm kind of excited to see how it is. But other than that, guys, we will bring you back when we've got some more stuff to talk about. All right, see ya.